A Yadav family lived in a Shak Nagar colony in Shahpur area of Gorakhpur district, Uttar Pradesh. This family was considered quite successful in the colony because the eldest son, Rajkumar Yadav, was a police inspector, while the youngest, Om Prakash Yadav, was a doctor. All the brothers were married, making it a happy and thriving family. In 2016, there was construction work going on at their house, which was arranged by Om Prakash. Workers and laborers would arrive at 9 a.m. and leave by 6 p.m. However, on January 21, 2016, when the workers came around 9 a.m., they noticed that Om Prakash had not woken up yet. They called out to him and knocked on the door, but there was no response. Since Om Prakash was a doctor and usually left for his clinic early, it was unusual for him to sleep in. After knocking for a while and still getting no answer, the workers gently pushed the door, and it opened because it wasn't locked from inside. When they entered the room, what they saw horrified them. They ran out of the room, screaming in terror. At the same time, they heard knocking sounds from the adjacent room, and a woman inside was shouting. But the workers were too frightened to pay attention and continued running downstairs. The family members living on the ground floor and nearby residents gathered after hearing the screams and asked the workers what had happened. The workers told them to go upstairs and see for themselves. When the family and neighbors reached Om Prakash's room, they too were shocked to find his lifeless body on the bed. Blood had oozed from his head and dried up, with blood also on the floor. It was evident that he had been dead for some time. Beside him on the bed was his son Nitin, who was also dead. Hearing the commotion, the knocking and shouting from the next room resumed. That door was locked from the outside, and when they opened it, they found Om Prakash's wife, Archana Yadav, in a dazed and terrified state. She rushed to the bedroom, but upon seeing the dead bodies of her husband and child, she fainted. Her world had shattered in that moment, and the household was engulfed in grief. The women of the family were crying and wailing, and someone called the police. Shahpur police arrived at the scene and sealed off the area. They sent Om Prakash and Nitin's bodies for post-mortem examination. Om Prakash's brother informed their eldest brother, Rajkumar Yadav, who was a police inspector posted at Utrala police station in Balrampur district. Upon receiving the news of his younger brother's death, Rajkumar rushed to Gorakhpur. Meanwhile, Om Prakash's mother, Baijwari Devi, filed a complaint with the police, leading them to register a case of murder and robbery against unknown persons. Archana's father, Deepchand Yadav, who was stationed at the chief minister's residence in Lucknow as part of the provincial armed constabulary pack, was informed of the incident. He immediately called the superintendent of police SP of Gorakhpur, requesting the swift capture of the culprits. With a call from the chief minister's office, pressure mounted on the police, and the case quickly gained attention. Senior officers, including IPS officer Love Kumar and forensic teams, rushed to the scene. The case became high profile, and soon the media arrived, increasing pressure on the police to solve the case quickly. Upon inspecting the crime scene, the police found the room ransacked, as if a robbery had taken place. Archana's jewelry and valuable items like mobile phones were missing. It seemed like a clear case of robbery, but the police were puzzled as to why the robbers had brutally murdered the doctor. It was possible that Om Prakash had resisted, which led the robbers to kill him. But why had they also killed the 4-year-old child, who couldn't have posed any threat? The only explanation was that the child may have recognized the attackers. This led the police to suspect the laborers who had been working at the house. They interrogated the workers and contractors, but no concrete leads emerged. The police then decided to investigate Om Prakash's past. His mother, Baijwari Devi, revealed that in 2007, Om Prakash had married a girl from Singapore. Though the girl's family had originally been from Gorakhpur, they had moved to Singapore for work and settled there. She had grown up in Singapore and worked at a bank there. However, after marrying Om Prakash and moving to India, her life changed drastically. She struggled with the cultural differences, lifestyle, and even language, going from working at a bank in Singapore to doing household chores in India. Feeling stifled, the marriage didn't last, and 6 months later, she returned to Singapore and resumed her job at the bank. Eventually, she filed for divorce, causing great distress to Om Prakash and his family. Despite the heartbreak, Om Prakash's clinic was flourishing. Since he was still young and successful, his mother began searching for another match for him, although she was aware that he was a divorcee. Eventually, their search led them to Deepchand Yadav's family, who had a daughter named Archana Yadav. Deepchand was originally from Gazipur, but due to his duty, his family shifted to Lucknow. Deepchand Yadav was serving as a PSC officer in Lucknow. When he first heard about Om Prakash's previous marriage, he felt a bit hesitant. However, once he learned about the situation that had arisen during that marriage, and that Om Prakash's family had no control over it, and it wasn't Om Prakash's fault, the Yadav family decided to meet Om Prakash's family. After discussions between the two families, Archana and Om Prakash got married in 2009. Archana moved into her in-laws' home. Om Prakash had a joint family, meaning there were many people in the house, which required Archana to do a lot of work. Then, 3 years after their marriage, in 2012, their son Nitin was born. After Nitin's birth, Archana's responsibilities increased even more. One day, frustrated, she told her husband Om Prakash that she could no longer handle the workload of such a large family along with caring for their child. She asked Om Prakash to move somewhere else and live separately from his family. This angered Om Prakash, who told her that he couldn't leave the brothers and mother who had taken care of him, educated him, and made him a successful doctor. He said they wouldn't be moving anywhere and would stay with his family. However, when Om Prakash's brothers and mother learned about the idea of living separately, they said they had no objections. Even so, Om Prakash didn't want to stay away from his family. His family suggested that Om Prakash and Archana could live on the first floor and prepare their own meals. Archana agreed to this, and the couple moved to the first floor. Archana began to distance herself from Om Prakash's family, focusing only on her own work, as living separately meant she no longer had to do much. Time passed, but suddenly, on January 21st, 2016, Om Prakash and their son Nitin were murdered. This incident brought high-ranking officers like DIG and SSP Love Kumar to the house, and the forensic team was called to the crime scene. Since the case was being closely monitored by the chief minister, the police were under pressure to solve it quickly. During the investigation, the police noticed that the latch on the main gate at the back of the house and the main gate on the first floor were broken from the inside. This raised suspicion that someone from the household could be involved, as burglars usually break in from the outside. There were significant signs of force on the inner door, which suggested that there must have been a lot of noise during the incident. But the question arose, why didn't anyone from Om Prakash's family hear the commotion? Upon questioning, it was revealed that on the night of the incident, January 20th, the family had attended a wedding anniversary party at the house of someone they knew, just a short distance away. The whole family had been invited, but Archana didn't go because she wasn't feeling well, so she stayed home alone. Om Prakash returned home early with their son, thinking that Archana was alone and unwell. Their son was also insistent on being with his mother. So, at the time of the incident, only Om Prakash, Archana, and their 4-year-old son Nitin were home. Archana was devastated and cried uncontrollably, but the police still attempted to question her. Archana told them that when she was home alone the previous night, some intruders broke in by forcing the door's latch. Since she was sleeping in a different room, they locked her in there. The postmortem revealed that Om Prakash had been struck on the back of his head with a heavy object, but there were no other injuries on his body, indicating that there hadn't been a struggle between him and the intruders. This meant that both Om Prakash and his son were likely killed while they were sleeping. But the question remained, if the intruders had killed their 4-year-old son as well, why did they spare Archana? There were no injuries on Archana's body. After questioning Archana, the police also questioned Om Prakash's mother, Baidshwari Devi. During the interrogation, Baidshwari revealed information that changed the entire direction of the investigation. She said that after Archana and Om Prakash began living separately, Archana had a lot of free time since she didn't have to do much housework. As a result, Archana spent a lot of time on her phone. Initially, Om Prakash thought that Archana was using the phone because she was bored being home alone. But over time, she became more engrossed in it, even neglecting her duties as a wife and mother. Whenever Om Prakash asked to see her phone, she refused, which led to arguments between the couple. By December 2015, their arguments had become so severe that Archana moved out of the bedroom and started sleeping in a separate room. Om Prakash and their son continued to sleep in the bedroom, while Archana stayed in a different room. Bajwari's statement made the police suspect that the relationship between Archana and Om Prakash wasn't good, raising the possibility that Archana may have orchestrated her husband's murder. Archana was now on the police's radar, but there was one issue with this theory. If Archana had her husband killed out of frustration from their constant fights, why was her son also killed? A mother wouldn't do such a thing to her own 4-year-old child. The police were considering all angles, but they could only confirm their suspicions by questioning Archana again. However, it wasn't the right time for that yet, as a wrong move could harm the police's reputation. The root of the conflict lies here, so the police seized Archana's phone. Afterward, they retrieved her phone's call details. She used to talk for hours. When the police traced the location of that mobile number, they found out that the person was in Gorakhpur on the night of January 20th. Upon further investigation through the phone number, the police discovered that the person's name was Ajay Yadav. He was a district council member and a primary school teacher. The police also found out that an affair was going on between them. To investigate further, the police wanted to question Archana, but she didn't reveal anything because the situation at that time wasn't suitable to bring Archana to the police station for interrogation. Therefore, the police decided to question the person named Ajay instead. Ajay's address was tracked down, and it was found that he lived in Swaminagar, Firozabad. Without delay, a police team reached Firozabad, arrested Ajay, and brought him to Gorakhpur. During the interrogation, Ajay told a story that shocked the police officers. Ajay Yadav confessed that his friendship with Archana began about a year ago, in 2015. She used to have small fights with her husband, which led to Archana and Ajay engaging in loving conversations. Over time, they fell in love. When Om Prakash, Archana's husband, asked her who she was talking to on the phone for so long, Archana told him that Ajay was a distant relative. Due to frequent phone conversations, the distance between Archana and her husband grew so much that she began living separately in another room from her husband and son. During this time, Archana and Ajay planned to meet. Ajay told Archana to come to Lucknow, coincidentally where her parental home was. Ajay booked a room in Lucknow, and Archana started visiting Lucknow under the pretext of visiting her family, but she met Ajay instead. Their relationship became physical, and when Om Prakash was not at home in Gorakhpur, Archana invited Ajay to her in-laws' house. To avoid suspicion, she had told her in-laws that Ajay was a distant relative, allowing him to stay there for several days without anyone questioning them. Since Archana's husband and son slept in separate bedrooms, it wasn't difficult for Ajay and Archana to meet. When Om Prakash began suspecting something, he told Archana not to invite Ajay to their house or talk to him anymore. But Archana didn't stop. She bought a new SIM card and continued talking to Ajay. One day, Archana told Ajay that they should get married. Although Ajay knew that Archana was married and had a child, he agreed to marry her. However, Om Prakash became the biggest obstacle in their way, and so Archana and Ajay made a plan for January 20th. On January 20th, 2016, the entire family went a little distance away for a wedding anniversary function. The house was empty, and Ajay arrived in Gorakhpur by train, bringing a hammer with him. He went straight to Archana's in-laws' house, where they first engaged in physical relations. Around 10 p.m., Om Prakash returned home with his son from the party. Archana had already hidden Ajay in her room. She then went to her husband's bedroom, where she put her son to sleep. Om Prakash watched TV for a while and then fell asleep. Archana waited for a while, and once she was sure that Om Prakash was in a deep sleep, she quietly came to her room, woke up Ajay, and around midnight, the two of them entered Om Prakash's bedroom. Ajay began hitting Om Prakash on the head with the hammer. Hearing his father's screams, 4-year-old Nitin, who was sleeping nearby, woke up and, seeing the blood flowing from his father's head, got scared and hid in his mother's arms. But Archana told Ajay to kill him too, as he had seen them and would expose them to his grandmother in the morning. Ajay refused, so Archana said, "If you won't do it, then I will." She then started strangling her innocent son, hiding in her arms, until he died. During interrogation, Ajay revealed that after killing them, He stayed with Archana for a while. They engaged in physical relations again, and then they both scattered the house's belongings to make it look like a robbery. Archana took cash and jewelry from the house to make it seem like a loot. Afterward, she went to her room, and Ajay locked her door from the outside and left. He went to the Gorakhpur railway station, caught a train, and returned to his home in Firozabad. Later, the police recovered the hammer used in the murder, the stolen jewelry, the mobile phone, and several other items from Ajay. On January 22, 2016, the Gorakhpur police exposed the entire case. Based on their statements and evidence, the police filed a charge sheet and presented it in court, after which both were sent to jail. The trial began in the Sessions Court, and on October 17, 2020, the Gorakhpur Sessions Court found Archana Yadav and Ajay Yadav guilty, sentenced them to life imprisonment, and imposed a fine of Rs. Both of them are still serving their sentences in jail. Archana showed no remorse for her actions. When female inmates in the jail questioned her about killing her son, she said, "I gave birth to him, and I killed him. What business is it of yours?" This angered the inmates, and they beat her severely. The police later rescued Archana from them and placed her in a separate cell. Archana also made several requests to the jail authorities to meet Ajay, who was in another barrack, but since they weren't legally married, they were never allowed to meet. The case is still ongoing in the High Court, and the final judgment is yet to come. Friends, the purpose of sharing this story is not to hurt anyone's feelings, but to raise awareness and caution you. What are your thoughts on this entire incident? Do share your opinions in the comment box, and if you liked our efforts, please like and share this video. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Thank you.